what is very interesting is that we actually find no evidence of uh, the no, the mosque being there till 1660. There is absolutely no mention of it anywhere, and the only secondary sources which claim about it are like the appendix of the Babar Nama, which everyone is very fond of presenting. Then we have then you would recall, Kushal, that there was a Tulsi Doha Shatak, which had become a very famous text for the people to refer, and they would say that the Tulsi Doha Shatak is making a claim that the temple was destroyed by Babar, to make a case that Tulsi Das ji was already aware about what was happening to the temples, etc. But that Doha Shatak was also a forged document. Tulsi Das ji never wrote anything called Doha Shatak, right? I hope you remember all this, the fake things which were even being produced by Hindu side.
हम्म बट वो तो ऑब्जेक्टिवली डिबंक हो गया था ना.
Yes, it was debunked, but what I'm trying to point out is that people take history so not, don't take history so seriously, and this is a big problem because what it does is that even if there's a strong case for the Hindu side, right, then also we are unable to bring our case because then we are mocked about that. There's a classic case of PNO for whatever, right? What comes through, so these are the problems, and still the Hindu side perhaps is not even cautious about it because when I posted it on Twitter that hey, this is a fake thing which is circulating, then people came on to ask me that okay, how is this possible? Then you know, but it will really weaken our case as a Hindu. Then some people will say that Babar was a good person. So a lot of non-objective point of view starts coming and floating in. It's not about trying to prove that Babar was good or bad. It's about proving that how the history has been. We are not in the business of making Ekta Kapoor serials, right? That okay, isko villain dikhana hai, isko. We are just trying to analyze history as in how it happened, right? So yes, I believe my screen is now again visible.
या
Yes. So I am directly going to bring up the inscriptions which I have brought upon in my book itself. The Persian and the Urdu text. Now, this is the inscription which I was talking about, which Fuller had brought, as in Anton Fuller, whom I spoke about initially. He gave a report in 1889, and it appeared in the Archaeological Survey of India's chronicle titled "The Shariki Architecture of Jaunpur," with notes of Jafar Abbas, Shehet Mehet, and so on and on. And in this inscription, he introduces inscription number inscriptions where he spoke about which was in the Arabic script, and he speaks about the central mihrab over the masjid, repeats the kalma twice. So now let's go into the inscription directly. So translation reads, by the order of Babar, the king of the world, this ferment-like lofty, strong building was erected by the auspicious noble Mir Khan. May ever remain such a foundation and such a king of the world. Right. Now this is the very inscription which he produced. Now here what we I have noted my observation too. Here the credit goes to Mir Khan, not Mir Baki. Right. Babar is named without honorifics because when you're talking about Babar, you will go talking about his full name, right? There is no sense not talking about his full name, as in Ghazi, etc. All the title, whatever he has attained, this will go as a part, and it's not mentioned at all. Now, this inscription, interestingly, has noted this very inscription, and then this is something he had also so what also is an observation that the way the language of the Persian which flows looks like a very recent one. It is not a something which belongs to that era. Now this is other inscription. The second inscription which comes with the picture in the name of, this is quite blurred because I could not get a
Like, I
very,
just had a question. मगर inscription को तो archaeologically date कर सकते हैं ना आभास?
yes, we can, but these are the inscriptions being taken from the secondary. Never found it on the structure. That's the most interesting part. All these inscriptions which I'm bringing in front of the people, none of them are on the structure. And that's the reason why when I spoke about the inscription called Allah in the initial, when we were talking initially, I said that the court used the term called super inscription. Super inscription means something which has been put afterwards, much later. Even court said that there's a super inscription. It's not something which belonged to the place in that era. So again, this is what I could obtain is something which I have picked from the first document. This is very fainted because this was not very crisp. The translation goes in the name of Allah. So again, see, let the religious foundation, the auspicious Hijri 930. 930 takes the date back to 1523, and these are the documents which have been produced in 1889, right? So again, I spoke about it already. Now I'll take you through other inscription. This is another inscription which was brought in the picture, which we were talking about, and which Beveridge used. And then the date comes to 935. And so these are the part of the same inscription which Führer was using, but Führer gave two set of inscription in which 930 was also date, and Beveridge selectively uses 935 one. She ignores talking about the 931. Yes. Then again, we have already found there are more set of inscription which this is the inscription which was submitted to Faizabad court in 1945, and this inscription again 1935 takes the date to 923. We are in 1945. The date of the mosque, the inscription presented is going to 923, and the name now appears is not Mir Khan, it's now Mir Baki in 1945. So there are five more inscriptions which I have put through into the book, and largely what you will find the question which you portrayed to me, Kushal, that how do we can date it easily because if they are archaeological material, but none of this ever existed onto the building. They were never part, so that you can't even date it, right? There is no way you can date it. So there's a Mir Baki, there's a Mir Khan as a character. There's 923 AH, which takes the date to 1517. We have 930, which takes the date back to 1523. We have 1528 date corresponding to 935 as well. But we don't have any historical evidences for any of it because they were never part in the mosque.
But then how does one calculate the date in such a scenario?
So they are talking about they are writing 923 AH, Al Hijri is written. So 923 Al Hijri, we can back calculate that what 923 correspond to. It corresponds to 1517. 930 corresponds to 1523. 935 AH corresponds to 1528, like because 0 AH is 622 when Prophet Muhammad went on to the Hijri, and that's where the calendar begins. So that's how the Islamic dates are given. But what I am largely looking to bring in the eyes of the people is the inconsistencies among the inscription themselves. And they're all fraud, all false. Even Buchanan got it from a Maulvi. We don't know the name of the Maulvi. He gave him the translation and he believed it, right? And so when Führer also brought the inscription in 1889, he brought in, all honesty, two dates, 930 and 935. Beveridge Sujan chooses to pick one of them. Or maybe that magistrate sent that only. Magistrate ignored to send the earlier inscription. So larger point is that we have no evidence, no inscription whatsoever to make a claim that Babar ordered Mir Baki Tashkandi to destroy the structure called Ram temple in 1528, because in 1529 Babar is talking about the mosque which he built in Dholpur and Agra, which are supposed to be commissioned before the fall of this Ram Mandir and commissioning of it. So this whole narrative comes that because Babar was not writing his autobiography in that period, so he missed to mention about the Ram temple destruction, but he speaks about the mosque which he erected before the Babri Masjid, so-called Babri Masjid, right? So he had no interest not to talk about it. Humayun Nama is silent about the Babri Masjid built by Humayun Nama talks about John Jodhpur and Jaunpur and Agra Mosque. Same happens with Jahangir. He does not talk about the mosque built by Babar in Ayodhya, but he talks about the other. So these people had no interest to hide it whatsoever, and there is no inscription which can support the case. And I hope that the journalists can start taking history a bit seriously. This because see these news channels have got amazing viewership. It again takes back us to the same rat hole. Like when I did work on this book, this was a lot of effort which had come into the lore so that I wanted to establish that what is the truth. But despite having worked so hard, if still the narrative continues to be run in a negative way by the populist personalities, it is going to be a dangerous terrain where we were walking in.
Hmm. So two, three questions before we wrap up. So let's circle back to this. Why then is your case for the Ram Mandir being destroyed by Aurangzeb more plausible, considering the bungled up inscriptions? That would be a natural follow up.
Yes. So there are many reasons to it because when Tiffin Teller in 1770, when he visited in the Hindustan, he says that Hindus are clearly saying that Hindus' memory says that it's destroyed by Aurangzeb. It's very clear. And we see the mention of Ram temple till 1650s. It continues to be there. And all of a sudden in 1668, when we first hear about the masjid popping up, which is the era of the Aurangzeb, and Aurangzeb had already instructed Fidai Khan to destroy other temples of Ayodhya, the two other big one, the Tretaraka Thakur, and one more, there's one big temple. There wouldn't be another reason, no reason not to destroy the third one. If he's destroying the two one, the third one becomes very possible. And he was targeting all the important center of Hindus, so is Kashi and Mathura, and Ayodhya certainly was one of them. And Manuki really observes and mentions that Ayodhya's temples are also instructed to be demolished by Aurangzeb. It's very clear. And his Farman also talks about destruction of temple not only in Kashi, in Ayodhya, does not specify the name of the temple. So, okay, today we say that Janamasthan is a very important temple. Maybe that in that period, it was not of that importance as we see it today. Maybe that it was just one of the important temples. So maybe that Aurangzeb wouldn't have considered it as important to specify that which temple it is. But the temples of Ayodhya were supposed to be destroyed. Then Buchanan himself, who made this whole case in favor of Babar, or rather made a case against Babar, himself said the Hindus are saying that it is destroyed by Aurangzeb. He's talking about in 1813 and 1814. So the memories of Hindu till recent time was about Aurangzeb destroying it, right? So there is no reason us to believe that even Babar did it. There is no point in case which should even point a finger to Babar because we don't have any evidence, but we have not very strong but circumstantial evidences which make us believe that it was surely done by Aurangzeb.
Now, somebody might say, if you can assume that the mullahs who were saying those things to Buchanan and all of that, they were just basically just winging it or making it up, why can't that accusation be hurled against the Hindus who are claiming Aurangzeb destroyed it?
Yes, because see, Hindus are the victims here. They are the one who they have nothing for or against anybody. They are just telling their case that okay, this temple has been destroyed by somebody, and also we are seeing the observation of Ram Navami in the era of Akbar, right? Ram Navami is being celebrated with the grandeur in the Janamasthan. It wouldn't have been possible. So even if we don't go till Aurangzeb, it was very sure that in the reign of Akbar, the temple was very much existing there, right? It was very much there, and in between we get only Humayun Shah, Jahangir, and sorry, We get only Jahangir and Shah Jahan, the two people in between, right? So in their era also we see the structure existing. People are talking about it. The William French who visits in 1630s, he talks about the temple existing there, and so are the other travelers who come there. D late, who he comes here and he observes the presence of temple. So they are observing the temple is existing. Suddenly the temple vanishes, the mosque is there, right? And we see it within the time frame. It's like the time lapse, and or rather how we see in a Google map. If you see a Google map or Google earth radar, if you go to that time, suddenly see that temple goes away and we see a mosque popping up, and that era is coinciding with Aurangzeb.
Got it. Now, last question before we wrap up is that, see, the problem is that what is the chronology is still not clear from me for me.
Yes.
Chronology कैसे बना establish करोगे? That is my last question to you.
Yes, so chronology goes this way that see, first of all, I will surely speak a few words about Babar. Babar had only 4 years in Hindustan. He was trying to fight hard to establish his own empire, or rather, establish his own reign. He was having very tough times against the Rajput. It was not an easy way for him. We have discussed it already when we were talking about my book, right? So it was not easy for him to go and
बाबर
destroy.
के पास टाइम किधर था? वो दारू पीने में बिजी होता था लास्ट में.
Yes, it was practically not possible for him to do what we are claiming it to be. And after Babar went away, we see that the travelers are coming. Like we see, hear about the Ram temple from the travelers. But before that, Abul Fazl, like 70, 80 years down the line, is talking about the Ram temple. So it's existing. Then we further, as we walk for the 20 years after Akbar, 20, 30 years, William Flinch is talking about the Ram temple in 1630s. Then in 1640s again, Herbert talks about the temple again in 1640. Temple is still existing. 1650 temple is existing. 1668, one Mr. Das visits the site and he talks about the absence of the temple, and the mosque comes up, right? So the timeline goes this way that, and Fidai Khan is a cousin of Aurangzeb, whose Aurangzeb is very fond of because of his Jalot nature of being jihadi. He sends him to Awadh, orders the destruction of the temple. It happens in 1660, and I have established this chronology that why 1660 becomes an important date when probably or most likely the temple got demolished because Fedai Khan is in Awadh, or rather in Ayodhya, in 1660, and other temples are destroyed. So in that heat of the moment, this temple has also fallen to Fedai Khan. 1660 is the date.
Fair enough. I had these questions. Is there anything else do you think we have missed or we should incorporate?
No, I think we are good, and I will just make a note to the audience and the people that even Bever's translation has got a bit of mistranslations, and I have pointed this out in my book, Power the Quest for Hindustan, that how she mistranslated a lot of things. And forget my translation. Okay, consider that I am a novice in reading Farsi. If you read the other people's translations, what they have done, they could not find the mention of Mir Baki Tashkandi anywhere. They could not find Mir Baki Tashkandi coming from Awadh to see Babar as the claim is made. That becomes one plausible case. Becomes a plausible case for a lot of scholars to say that Mir Baki Tashkandi came from Awadh to see Babar to seek his blessing or whatever you want to say after having done this deed. But that never happens in Babar Nama. There's no character called Mir Baki Tashkandi at all. The Baki Sagwal, and he was not a general, because you can predict from the book that who is a general, who is not. There's certain way people are treated, and generals are given certain titles, right? It's not just anybody cannot become general. So there was no Mir Baki Tashkandi. He never came from Ayodhya. He was not in Ayodhya whatsoever on that very date. And so I have presented that what exactly Mir Baki Sagwal was doing on this time when the supposed temple was destroyed. So there is no case at all for Babar ordering the demolition of temple, but there's a lot of case for Aurangzeb destroying the temple, and that's where the truth lies.
Fair enough. This is one of those subjects that I can't believe so many historians have missed out on. I don't know why. I think sometimes what happens is my only rational explanation of this is that sometimes in the urge of proving someone wrong, we overlook evidence because the left has been so nasty to the Hindu side when it comes to the claim of some major Hindu temples that I think some good historians also missed out. Um, the only thing that was clear is that there was a Ram Mandir, and I think for the Hindus it didn't matter if Babar broke it or Aurangzeb broke it. What mattered for them that the Ram Mandir was real, and I think in that they just I just think they missed a thing or two. Is my only conclusion.
Yes, that's a very fair point, what you are making, and I also feel that often Hindus go overarching because Hindus have been subjugated for very long, whether it's academia or everything. So, at times, in the quest to establish the truth, they just go overboard, and perhaps that's the reason why even this thing got overlooked, or people never even cared about it, that it really doesn't matter, or maybe that Babar is the bad guy, the worst person, because he established the empire, the Timurid Empire, which began a dark age for Hindustan. And we both agree that the very tough time for Hindustan. We have done this discussion that how economy was ruined and whatnot, right? So it's possible that people want to paint Babar as bad as possible, and I don't doubt their intention. Only I doubt, or rather than doubt, I would say that be very careful for history, because all this slip, all these the walks which we are doing on the slippery slope will be used by the anti-Hindu forces or the leftists, etc., to make a case against the Hindus. We have seen the example of PNO in the past. Let's not commit that mistake. Let's be very objective. We have got good history. Stick to the truth. Everything is cool.
No, it's a genuine problem with the right wing, Abbas. Like even on you know on all those fraudulent, that star positioning and all that methodology, it is all bullshit. Okay, I'm just saying it straight up, and now people will be like, no, you don't know anything. No, boss, like it is literally most people who claim those things mistranslate verses, and they mistranslate them to force fit their bullshit claims. And it's really disgusting. Very little good scholarship, even and my genuine conclusion now is whether it's the left or right, basically very little good scholarship comes out of India. I'm
I
saying
completely.
this with no malice towards Indians in general. I am an Indian. I live more than half of my life over here, and I'm saying this as a person who is concerned about the quality of work that comes out of India. Every time some work comes out, you have to double check it, triple check it, quadruple check it, and it is so frustrating. Somebody will say the Rig Veda is these many years old, and they just wing it. But like almost all the discourse on the right and left in India is literally in that kya Hitler Haryanvi tha bracket. The left just says it in better English, but they are also peddling bullshit. It is so frustrating, and I'm glad we have done this. Like it is such a small thing. Ram Mandir किसने तोड़ा? Aurangzeb ने कि बाबर ने? It was just a small thing, right? But it took 1 hour just to break down that small thing, and उसके बाद भी दो चार doubt है. I'm not saying एकदम नॉन कंक्लूसिव है तुम्हारी एविडेंस, मगर एक दो क्वेश्चन आदमी पूछ सकता है क्रोनोलॉजी के ऊपर. बट क्या बोले अभी? ठीक है, अभी कुछ बोल नहीं सकते.
And so, Kushal bhai, and you would have already observed that in recently when my book was being reviewed by the left, it's not that they showered sympathy on me, right? It's just that they couldn't pick the facts, right? None of them did a fact check to me. Okay, you are wrong here. The point I'm trying to make to everybody is that we have to be as authentic as possible. Maybe that we cannot achieve authenticity because गलती सबसे हो सकती है. It's not necessary that you achieve it. But the quest should always be towards the truth and fix it whenever you find that you have gone on the wrong path. right? And the same problem happens with the left. And I could see that when the reviews were being done, they got it personal, right? They began to call me names, etc. This is what the right also often does at times when it does not fall their way. They will take to this terrain. But history, as I keep on saying, it owes to none. It is not of the right or left. It's just that this the way the things happened, and we are just collecting the evidences which is in front of our eyes today. Maybe some more evidences come, then maybe that my own stance will change, because and that's what we say, that we keep need to keep on evolving. But the point is that you should stick to what the evidences lead you to, and don't talk any BS in history without the evidence. Everything should be backed by some or the other source. It cannot be just one fairy tale or other, as is the case for this Ramjan movie. It's a very classic case. It's very simple. We just spoke about simple things, and it, anyone can decode those inscriptions. It's not that no one. It's I did some rocket science related thing, but people need to be very serious about it, and that's the problem, that we are not taking history very seriously.
Yeah, I think the next thing only left is tarot card reading of history. और क्या रह गया है यार, बस वही रह गया है. और देखना उसको भी मिलियंस ऑफ व्यूज मिलेंगे और लोग बोलेंगे कैसे टैरो कार्ड रीडिंग रियल है.